a Canadian radio sanctuary podcast.
So you record, is it once a week you do soundtrack?
Yeah, we record it once a week, and then takes almost the same amount of time, although we lay music in many times later.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a process. We've got a lot of people, 15 people working on the show.
Of course, the program is heard not only in the United States, but through Canada and in Australia as well, is it not?
It's, I think, in every English-speaking country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We're in Dublin, Ireland. We're in Guam, New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, Puerto Rico, and Bakersfield, California. And Burbank. Burbank also, as well as other parts of the world.
You must be very familiar with Burbank by now, eh?
Well, yes, I guess so. One of the phrase that I created, I guess about 1961, long before we even did Laugh In. I used to do the weather reports for beautiful downtown Burbank and romantic Reseda and some of the suburban areas in Los Angeles, but people didn't take note of it until Laugh In came on, and of course I would open each show from beautiful downtown Burbank in the Nern Hotel. And of course there really isn't a Hotel Nern, but maybe there will be by September of 1983. Laugh In is coming back again, worldwide, and will be on every day starting in the fall of '83.
I wanted to ask you about that. Reruns, is it not a condensed form?
Yes, it will be. It'll be 30 minutes as opposed to 1 hour. But that makes it even better because it's a tighter format than we had. And we had the fastest show in television from 1968 through 73.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking forward to it. And, of course, people will have an opportunity to see a 21-year-old Goldie Hawn and Lily Tomlin, as well as the regular cast. Most people don't remember, John, that Goldie replaced Eileen Brennan on the show. Eileen Brennan was the original cast member of Laugh In. Not cast member because there were a number of us, but she went back to Broadway after the first season, and then Goldie came in the same role.
It's interesting they both have a connection with Private Benjamin.
That's right. Should be playing together in that movie.
Yeah.
And it started the careers of a lot of people. There were only 4 of us who did every episode, every show. Ruth Buzzy, Dan and Dick, and myself. So I look forward to it with great residual. With residual payment, I should say.
That's right. No reservations. How did that affiliation, how did you initially get involved with Laugh In?
Through my radio show. George Slaughter, the producer of Laugh In, was a big radio fan of mine, and when he was producing the Judy Garland show, used to send me notes saying that was a funny bit you did about standing on your mouth or whatever it would be. And then George phoned me one day and said, we're going to do a television show not unlike your radio show, where people will do strange things for no particular reason. So I didn't have to audition for it. George hired me as a regular, but how the hand-over-the-ear 1930s announcer situation occurred was a strange one. George and Digby Wolf, the writer of the first season, and Artie Johnson and I were having lunch at a restaurant called the Smokehouse in beautiful downtown Burbank, which was right across the street from Slaughter and Friendly's offices. Well, we'd been working on typewriters and typing out little sillies and so on. So we went into the restroom there, which was a marvelously tiled bathroom. And when I was washing up, I put one hand over my ear, satirizing the 1930 kind of announcers who would put their hands over their ears. And I said, the acoustics are good in here. And George Slaughter said, hey, keep that in. And I said, you want me to wash my hands on television? He said, no, do the hand over the ear announcer shtick. And so that's how it took place, purely by accident. I had been hired for the show. We weren't exactly sure what kind of a role I would play, but that turned out to be a wonderful thing for me for all 6 seasons on the program.
It even inspired one of the Bee Gees.
Yes, that's right. Well, many singers, as you know, do legitimately sing that way because you can hear those pear-shaped tones much easier, specifically when you're on stage, as well as in a recording studio.
Yes.
And although I didn't announce that way before, many of America's great announcers, the Harry Von Zells and Ken Carpenter, and those from the marvelous early days of radio, did announce that way. of course, it created a symbol for me. My ear print is in cement at NBC in Burbank, and when you go into the commissary to sample their braised beaver fetlocks or some other great taste delight that they have, you can see the ear print there, which was February 9th, 1971, when Rowan and Martin stood on my head. They imprinted the ear forever and ever, or another earthquake, whichever happens first.
Well, there's no question that's your trademark.
Oh, thank you, John. That's very kind of you. It has sort of become that way, and it's nice to be known for one thing, or at least something people can say, oh, yeah, I know him, is the guy who puts his hand over his ear.
That's right.
And it was very nice for me because I always did commercials even before Laugh-In. It probably doubled my commercial output for television and for radio because of that.
When Chuck Barris introduced the Gong Show, now, were you not the host of a nighttime version?
I did the pilot. As a matter of fact, I was the first host of the Gong Show. Chuck owned the program with Chris Beard, who was a long-time affiliation with Canadian Alan Bly when they were producing, the Smothers Brothers, a lot of those kind of shows. Sonny and Cher, I should say, rather than the Smothers Brothers, Sonny and Cher and the Andy Williams Show. Alan is in Canada right now doing Bazaar with Bob Einstein and John Miner.
That's right.
But Chris Beard and Chuck Barris created the Gong Show, and I was asked to be the original host. We did the pilot in San Francisco, the first time it snowed in San Francisco in 10 years. That must have portend things to come. And the original panelists on there were Richard Dawson, the host of Family Feud, Artie Johnson from Laugh-In, Adrienne Barbeau from Maude, and Joanne Worley from Laugh-In. And I hosted it. We did it at ABC in San Francisco. And the pilot was just tremendous. We immediately told, I think it was something like 200 cities bought the show as an ABC syndicated O&O show. In the meantime, Chuck loved the pilot so much, he sold it to NBC as a daily show. Now, that got on the summer prior to our fall festival. However, ABC had purchased it from our pilot, so albeit Chuck got on first on the television set with it, ours was really the original one, and the nighttime one did very, very well the first season. We were in the top 3 shows all over the country and wherever it showed at that time. Then after the end of the first season, Chuck sent me a letter stating he thought I was wonderful, but he wanted to do it himself because he also was the producer, which I didn't take too kindly to.
Yes.
However, as it turned out, it doesn't really matter one way or the other. The way I did the show was a different manner in which Chuck did it. I thought you should not make fun of the guests, and we would both wear tuxedos, and I would say, and now, ladies and gentlemen, a man who can play Lady of Spain on his zipper, and a man might come out and do that. But I would never demean the guests, whereas Chuck thought it was funnier to demean them or put them down because they were terrible. And I thought, well, it would be funnier if it would be like John Daly or a Walter Cronkite introducing someone, and the host might not realize that they indeed were terrible on the show. So we had 2 different philosophies about the program, and all of it is history now, but it was great fun. We had a marvelous first season that I was on it, and of course Chuck then later went on to do a Gong Show movie and a couple of other years for NBC doing it, and also he took over the ABC show.
I tend to agree with you that the more deadpan style on your behalf would be much more enjoyable, I think.
Well, I think that the way to do humor is by underplaying it, rather than hitting it over the head with a cap or a hammer of some kind. But that's just a matter of philosophy. Chuck was very, very successful with the various game shows that he owned, like the Newlywed Game and the $1.98 Beauty Show and those kind of things.
That's right.
We're still friends. It's just that there was a mild flare-up that we had at that time, and all of the national newspapers jumped on it and felt that I had been picked on. And I'm glad they felt that way.
It worked in your favor.
Yes, I guess so.
Even though you still do radio, of course, yet you have involvement with television, do you have a kind of a fondness, a soft spot in your heart for radio first?
Oh, yes, I love radio very much. I've been in it for 25 years now, actually a little more than 25. I started as a teenager in the business. I was a mutual newscaster. I was a network newscaster when I was still in my teens. And then I became a disc jockey in my 20s. And I've always had a great love and great fondness for it. It's a particular thrill that you can't get in television or motion pictures, because once you have an idea, that eidetic imagery that you have comes through suddenly, and there it is. If you want to do something about a sound effect of a man hitting his head into the wall, whatever that may be, you grab a sound effect record and make grunting noises like, I'll just take this, and there you go, and it's done. But in television, you'd have to set it up, preset cameras, and all of those kind of things. So there's an immediacy of radio that is just beautiful. And, of course, that's why I'm so thrilled with Soundtrack of the 60s, which is now, I think, at 200 stations around the world.
Fantastic.
We're so pleased that you carry it there, Vancouver.
Well, it rates #1 when you're on Saturday between 6 and 9 p.m.
Oh, that's marvelous.
That's
I'm
right.
really happy to hear that, because in the 60s, it was such a part of my life, as were the 50s. I worked with Elvis Presley, I worked with Buddy Holly, all of them in the 50s. And then, of course, in the 60s, I worked, I think, with every performer we have on the show, one time or the other, whether it be the Beatles. I believe I was the only disc jockey in the country, or perhaps the world, who attended Paul McCartney and Linda McCartney's going-away party on the Queen Mary. It didn't go away. The party is still going on, actually, several years ago.
Yeah.
Guests that we have on the show and the music we play always are kind of first-hand with me, because I've been so fortunate in knowing the many, many celebrities that we have, and being a part or sort of the center of this tornado or whirlwind of music of the 60s. And it was such an important time music-wise. We try to re-hone and reshape those memories so that everybody says, yeah, I remember where I was when that was being played. And I guess we all have that feeling for the first time. The jingle symbolism that we have there, I think, is kind of important.
That's right. What about your present radio work? Do you have a regular daily program?
Yes, I do. I work for the Gannett Corporation, Radio and Television Corporation in Hollywood. I'm the morning disc jockey at KPRZ in Hollywood. So I do that from 7 until 10 every morning. And then I zoom out and do commercials and animated cartoons and television. I have a team. Well, as a matter of fact, I have 4 television companies. Dick Enberg of NBC Sports, Merlin Olsen of Father Murphy, John Brody of Sports, 7 other businessmen in Hollywood are the owners of a company called Oh My Productions. And Dick Enberg is the president. We bought out a company which did own Sports Challenge, and the way it was with Kurt Gowdy on television. And we now own those products. And we're doing television nearly every day now, producing new product. I'm another part of Teakwood Productions. I just did a special called the Gary Owens All Nonsense News Network, which aired in Los Angeles and will go around the world in the next 6 months or so. And I guess I've done maybe 1,000 animated cartoons since coming to Hollywood in 1961. My first job was writing for Jay Ward, Fractured Flickers and Bullwinkle, and a show called The Nut House. I'm the voice of Roger Ramjet of Space Ghost. One of my companions on Space Ghost was Tim Matheson, who's now become a movie star in his own right. Oh, The Perils of Penelope Pitstop and Dynamite. I play the Blue Falcon. I usually either play the narrator or the superhero or a villain. On many occasions, I played a villain against my own superhero. They will record your voice in Hanna-Barbera, for example, and you do another voice different than the one you've just done. And then by drawing other characters around the voice, you could be fighting yourself.
I see. That's interesting. Do you ever take a day off?
The last day off I had, John, was, October 3rd, 1964. Not had a day off. No, occasionally my wife and I and our 2 sons will go to the beach. We enjoy the ocean very much, and I'll occasionally go to the desert or the mountains. That's the beauty of Southern California, where we live, is that you have everything, an infinite variety within just miles.
You were mentioning earlier when you were talking about a fondness for radio and the magic of radio, allowing one's imagination to flow. And there is a bit of a resurgence, at least in Canada, of popularity in radio drama. Is that the same in the United States right now?
Yes, it is, and it's strange that you should mention that. Halloween evening, we're broadcasting a network show on Mutual. Last year we did it on NBC Radio. John Carradine, John Houseman, June Lockhart, Casey Kasem, his wife Jean, Lynn Redgrave and her husband, and myself did an hour drama featuring horror stories. This year we'll be doing 2 hours, and it's a great thrill because I was really not at an age where there was a lot of radio acting when I got into the business. It has sort of dovetailed into television, and now. It's recurring, and we do it live in front of an audience of 100 to 50 people at the Magic Castle, a beautiful happening place in Hollywood where they have trick doors, ghosts and goblins and ghouls and so on. And it's become a Halloween tradition, if you can call it tradition after 2 years. But we're doing that in Halloween evening.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Old-time radio, very much.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, continued success with Soundtrack of the 60s, and thank you for joining us today.
Well, John, thank you for asking me. And by the way, I'm very sorry I set fire to your nostril hairs during the interview here. My cigarette lighter just went off accidentally.
That's all right. You're forgiven.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, John. Bye-bye.
Take care.